hoping you can all hear me. I can't really hear myself, but we're going to give this a go anyway, and if there's any time at the end, I'll try some ASMR into the headphones. All right, so hi everyone. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be talking about this is how the cookie crumbles, or what the hell we do now that the cookie apocalypse, which we were all expecting, has been rescheduled. Trigger warning, this presentation is full of incredibly bad stock photos of people enjoying biscuits. So if you're in any way offended by that, this is your moment. Okay, so hi, first of all, I'm Hannah. I'm the VP of Marketing at Zeotap, and I'm the first person in this presentation to be abnormally enjoying a biscuit. If you haven't met Zeotap before, we're a customer data platform, unifying, enhancing, and activating your data, all engineered in Germany for the European compliance nightmares that we face day to day. But enough about Zeotap and more about me. So this was me 2 weeks ago, Henry Cavill, preparing for the cookieless future very diligently, like so many of us in the room might be already. But of course, Google had another thing coming. And that looked a little bit like this. So if you guys remember 2 weeks ago, that's more or less a lifetime, Google decided that it was going to delay the phase out of third-party cookies by 2 years. So moving from early 2022 to late 2023. But first things first, what is the whole cookieless future? Let's just backtrack a little bit and go back to basics. So a primer on cookies for anyone who needs to know. So a first-party cookie, they're not going anywhere. This is data collected by you on your website for things like analytics, to remember things like language settings, all to create a really great user experience. Those aren't going anywhere. But these guys, third-party cookies, are. So these are collected by other domains aside from you, hence the name third-party. This is used for things like ad targeting, retargeting, cross-domain tracking, and these are going bye-bye. So the fact that they're not going away, for all of us in this room, shouldn't we be happy about that? We've got an extra 2 years of stay of execution here. Should we not be delighted? This man with a jar of cookies and very anxious about them would say otherwise, and I'm inclined to agree with him. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to go through 5 key things that we can learn from this decision to delay the rollback of cookies. Hopefully we'll all take something away from it. So first of all, the fundamental in all of this is that there is a very good reason why third-party cookies were being taken away in the first place. If we go back to January of last year when Google announced that third-party cookies were going to be deprecated, that reason was because the third-party cookies had done so much to undermine consumer trust. And that's why we have to remember that over the course of the next 2 years and beyond, we need to make sure that those efforts to repair consumer trust are front and center of whatever happens next. Remember that this is not a change in direction. This is just a change in timeline. So that refocusing on building that trust and that transparency has got to be the first thing that we take away from this, going back to basics. The second thing, okay, so there's a very good reason why Google rolled back this decision. And that's because big changes take a huge amount of time. We don't want to underestimate how fundamental a difference this makes to everything that we do. And I think the fact that Google, who were making the decision in the first place, who have all the resources in the world and all of the power, said, hold up, I need more time, says a lot about what the rest of us need. If Google has all of that and we've still got to do a whole load of preparation, it probably means that we should carry on doing the same. This is not a reason to kick the can down the road. But leads me on to my third reason. All of this extra time creates great opportunities. So this isn't just a stay of execution, this is an opportunity to do better. And with these 2 years that you now have, this is what I'm going to suggest that you do with it. It's time to start running tests. If you hadn't done them already, now you've got 2 years in which to do it. Let's remember that the new landscape post-cookie is going to contain so many different solutions in order to be able to deliver addressability. Now, that solution that you're going to light upon isn't just going to be one. There is no magic bullet solution to any of this. You're going to probably need multiple different ones in order to get scale, in order to get quality. So if you haven't explored them already, now is your opportunity to do so. Start running tests. Start getting some hard numbers on what you think those things are going to be able to deliver for you. And then by the time the end of 2023 rolls around, you're not going to be blindsided. Your bottom line isn't going to be blindsided. So think about this as an opportunity. And I don't really know what she's doing there because she's got a tape measure, but she also seems to be wearing sportswear. So it's an interesting concept. Again, if you want to run tests looking like that, then all power to you. The fourth learning, I think, is perhaps the most controversial one, but I think the most pertinent to all of us living in here. One of the reasons that Google pushed back the deprecation of third-party cookies is probably because of Europe. So Google, earlier on this year, back in March, announced that it was pausing testing of Flock, which is its solution to addressability in a cookieless future. And it was pausing that testing in Europe. And so reading between the lines, we all knew that Google had come up against some roadblocks when it comes to things like GDPR. And it's a big sign that a lot of these solutions for the cookieless future are made for our North American friends. And they're not made for us here with the stricter compliance environment, with the stricter data security environment. And so we need to be the ones asking the questions. So when you're looking at all of your solutions for the post-cookie world, remember that they weren't necessarily made for you, and make sure that you're asking the right questions. So once again, you're not going to get blindsided by any answers. My last one, the most philosophical. So the last learning from all of this is that reliance on third-party cookies has made us all kind of vulnerable. We were all thrown for a loop 2 years ago when this was announced in the first place. We were all thrown for a loop again 2 weeks ago when the timeline changed. And the ability for one decision to be able to throw us off kilter like that shows us how much we've hinged on this one solution that is out of our control, fundamentally. So now is the time to take back control. In the course of the next 2 years, there's one clear opportunity for you to do that, and that is in building up your first-party data asset. Now, we all remember when we had to do this 3 years ago with GDPR, and it was really fun. You get to do that again now. So building up your own asset of first-party data, something that you control, something that you've earned from your customers, gives you a foundation that can't be shaken. And will allow you to deliver addressability, but so many other things besides, whatever happens next to cookies and whatever happens after that in this whole paradigm shift towards privacy. So, in conclusion, with this really happy man with a jar of cookies, as a recap, number one, recenter on privacy and trust. This is what has been destroyed by third-party cookies. Whatever we start to do next has to have that at its core. Number two, start now. Google is doing it. There's no reason for us to delay just because there's extra time baked in. Every single minute of this is going to count. Number three, that extra time is a gift. Now we have the opportunity to start testing, so have at it. Number four, this landscape did not factor in Europe, so you have to. It's incumbent upon all of us who are very invested in tonight's football to make sure that we're asking the right questions. And number five, data is stability. So start building that foundation now so that we're not vulnerable to any changes like this in the future. And that's me and all of my cookie-based friends. So thanks very much for listening. I've been Hannah, we've been Zeotap. We are over there with the weird spinning wheel thing. So if you want to talk data, see you over there. Thanks very much.
Hannah, thank you so much. Just got a few questions. Have you got time?
Yeah.
There's one here from John who says, what do you think of publishers? What do you think publishers' role is in the first-party data ecosystem?
So that's a very good question. We're working with a whole bunch of publishers at the moment because we work on a universal ID solution called ID+. And so the whole idea is then, through universal IDs, publishers being able to build up their own private walled gardens of quality data to give advertisers quality reach. So there's a major role for publishers to play.
And one here from Jane, she asks, you talk a lot about testing. What sort of budget do you think we would need to allocate to do testing good enough to get through?
How long is a piece of string? And that's
I guess
my
what
answer,
she means is this a really big investment, a big job, something to get through the ball, or is it something that's easier?
It's a good question. I don't think it necessarily has to be. I think these things, like most things, when it comes to experimentation, can be incremental. You start with something small and then you start to be able to incrementally increase that as you better learn where the potential results are.
And final question is from me. Obviously, 2 years, you're talking about don't stop, use your 2 years well, but as we all know, things might very well flip back to normal, everyone starts relaxing. Do you think people really will use these 2 years well? And if not, what's your best advice for how they can spur the company interaction?
So I hope people will. I think the tide is already turning in that direction anyway. So we'd already gained a certain amount of momentum in the industry because we were getting close to D-Day right now, which was in 6 months' time. So this day of execution is hopefully going to make sure that that is spurred onwards, but also give a signal to everyone who hadn't started that this is going to take much longer than they thought. So I hope that this is actually a positive in that respect.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much.
Thank you.